You know, we're like you. We're real people with real issues, trying to figure out how to help our adult aging parents kind of maneuver through their journey while we're trying to live our journey, right? So that's the challenge, and I think we're all in this together. Second crew, we wouldn't be here without sponsors. So again, voluntary board, we don't all have deep pockets, no pockets. And so how do we sponsor? How do we get this thing moving? We have a website to develop, we have a room to rent, we have technology to have. So we are so thankful for the first sponsors that we've come together in the loop that you saw earlier, but I'm going to introduce all of them. We have Lisa Reed with CareForth. Is she here? There's Lisa right there. Thank you. So we have different levels of sponsorship. We have core sponsors who have agreed to be with us for a couple years at a certain financial level, and so we thank you for that, Lisa. Lori Shanahan, right there. Janet, again. With Centerwell, we appreciate Janet. And then Emily. So two board members have stepped up, and we appreciate Emily and all of them. And then tonight's program sponsor. So every program will have a sponsor or two that really help us for tonight's event. And so Jen Adams. And yeah, Jen. I'll speak in a couple seconds. Right? It's your night. That's the deal. Pay the money, you get to say hi. So anyway, we thank you so much for being core sponsors, program sponsors, because that helps us make this thing work. And so forever we're grateful. I'm going to hand it over to Janet. Our first sponsor comes from Centerwell, someone who is not only an early believer in ACAP, but is also a member of our leadership team. So Janet, the floor is yours. A couple minutes.
So we first met, it was like, yeah, 25 people. And then we kept watching the RSVPs coming in, and we just want to be a blessing for you in as many ways as we possibly can. I'm Janet Pillsbury. I'm with Centerwell Senior Primary Care, and yes, on the board of ACAP as well. I got my fan club. That would be Cheyenne and Tasha, who are also with Centerwell as well. I'm at the College Park location. We're at 86th in Michigan, next to Trader Joe's. Tasha's at the Pendleton Pike location. Cheyenne's at the Indy West location. We are a primary care provider that serves those with Medicare. So you have Medicare, it's your ticket in the door, to then be seen by providers who see 10 to 12 patients per day. 10 to 12 patients per day. That means slow down, take our time, answer all the questions, because boy, seniors can have a lot of questions, can't they? We also are used to dealing with those aging problems. You have to have Medicare, so 95% of our patients are 65 and older. So we're very skilled at dealing with the hard of hearing, the hard of seeing, the mobility challenges, all of the things we deal with on a daily basis with providers who love and take care of patients in a really unique and different kind of way. We have an activity center that provides social emotional abilities to be able to address dementia, Alzheimer's, anxiety, depression, isolation, things like that. We have an on-site lab. We can do that blood work on site. How nice is that? Sometimes it's a challenge just getting there. Then go somewhere else, which blood work done doesn't make sense. We have on-site lab. We have exam recliners, which makes sense. When you get older, hips, knees, and backs tend to complain a little bit about what's going on. So an exam recliner where you can sit in a comfortable chair, and it's hydraulic. It's like a little roller coaster ride, but it's fun. It's really not scary. It lifts up, it turns into a table, turns back to a chair, and back to the floor. All these little tiny details we've learned because Centerwell is over 20 years old. We have over 350 centers across the country. We've been doing this for a very long time, but we're new to Indianapolis. So we have 5 centers here in Indianapolis. 4 of them are 2.5 years old. The last one, College Park, is 1.5 years old. If we could be of support and service to you and those that you love, let us know. We're not only primary care providers, but one of the things we pride ourselves in is being connectors between the center and the community. That's why ACAP is so important to me, because I'm learning and absorbing all the resources that I can. So if you're ever like, who do you know that? Ask one of us, because I either know someone or I know someone who knows someone. So all those resources are super important. So we are so grateful that you're here today. And we just pray that you're going to be blessed with all the information you're going to get and come back and join us for all the events that are coming up. We're going to do this once a month. Yep. Should be cool. And thank you, Duke, for all this.
Thank you, Janet. Next, Jen. You're up.
Go, Jen!
Jen is our program sponsor for tonight, so we thank you so much, because we had to upgrade this room as of Tuesday.
Well, I'm Jen with Comfort Care Home Care. I am very proud to be a part of this. I've been in the senior industry for over 20 years, and I've been with Comfort Care for 13 years. Comfort Care is a home care agency. We provide care in the home wherever anyone calls home. So that could be their residence of 50 years, it could be senior living, it could be memory care, independent living, whatever that might be. We do serve private pay clients as well as Medicaid, VA benefits, long-term care insurance. So if you think that there might not be any possible way that you can afford an aide to come into the home, there are many options. We don't have a minimum, so it can be very catered to what you need. It could be 4 hours a month. It could be 24/7 care. So there are options, and there's no obligation to use this for any length of time. There's no contract or anything like that. To give you an idea, and this is pretty much standard, I believe, our rate is around $35 an hour. I think that's pretty mid-range. We try not to be the highest or the lowest. Again, we do have home health aides because we do serve Medicaid. Under Medicaid guidelines, you do have to have a home health aide go into the home. So our nurses are on staff to train all the caregivers to be home health aides, whether you're going to do a private pay client or a home health aide, or a private. So they are all home health aides. So we do full personal care. So if you wanted to stay in your home forever, you can. We do Hoyer lifts, slide boards, full personal care. So it's just a good option if someone's not ready to move into a community, or if they need additional help in a community because they're not getting the one-on-one care that they need. We can also come in to help with that. So that's about it for me.
Thanks.
Thanks.
All right, so what we're going to do, the topic tonight is kind of that 30,000-foot view of senior services. And the idea is to give a sense of what does that look like? What does that system for seniors look like? And so in your handouts on your table is what I'm going to really walk through that and give you, again, just a picture of what, give you sure this is right. So, building a roadmap, and the idea is what are all the services that are available? What are the resources that we have at our fingertips? What are the resources that we have to go purchase and pay? And what does it all mean when we're looking for those types of resources? So, my best attempt is to build this roadmap and to understand it from a level system and give you 3 different levels to think about as far as building your roadmap. But before you go and build a roadmap, you typically need a map, right? You need a plan. So you're going from one place to the next place to the next place. And you can add all the services you want, but if you don't have a good map to really understand why do I need that service and why is that important, I feel like the plan is first critical. Then you kind of add the services to your need. So in the back of your handout is, I've used this as a checklist, as a good reference point for understanding what are some of the things you have to do to build your roadmap and to build your plan. And if you're like me, I like checklists. And I like the ability to have a checklist that kind of says, hey, I've got this thing done. So do you have your wills? Do you have your trusts? Do you have where's all of your information stored and collected? And what's your budget look like? What are all those elements that you need to have to really understand? Because you can't decide what you're going to go buy if you don't know how much your money is and what you've got. So the idea is to build that plan. The checklist is just one piece of the pie, but it's an opportunity to kind of go through. I've tested that out personally with that checklist, and I feel like it's a pretty comprehensive picture. And if you can check 80% of them, I think you're in a good place to really understand that. From that, we walk into this roadmap. And so the idea of a senior care journey is going to, where do we start and where do we begin, or where are you at today? And so the idea of an assessment of looking at what you're looking for. I've framed this up as community resources, in-home care, and then the journey into senior living. And so those opportunities, and you can see it's not hard and fast, right? It kind of goes back and forth, and so don't think of these as hard firewalls. They're flexible and they're fluid, and so people can make decisions about that. You know, you can cut and slice and dice this process. It goes from free services to then the paid services. Sometimes the insurance will cover, sometimes things won't get covered. And so that notion of what does it all look like and where does this pay structure come from is what we're going to dive into. These, if you want to talk about all these three levels in a more long-term way, these would all be potentially a 30-minute to a 45-minute presentation. So I'm really hitting high-level conversation, so at least you have a framework to kind of use, and then recognize that this community has a lot of resources that are available here. So first level is this community resources. The idea of that these are free resources that are really available to everybody, anybody and everybody in this community, and you have to spend some time searching for them and understanding where they are. What's your neighborhood look like? What is your church resources? What are their senior communities have? What are the meal programs that we have in this area? What are transportation, which is a little tricky to find a good transportation process, but there are ways to figure those things out, right? And then how do you find caregivers? We're in this room because we're caregivers, right? Or we have friends who are caregivers, and we have other people who are caregiving for caregivers. And so that notion of free on some level, but also there's a cost that goes with that free too. The tired, the exhaustion, all of those pieces. So community resources, big picture, they're available. You have to find them, you have to figure it out, but really that goes to the plan, right? If you understand your plan, what your need of your plan is, you can then find those resources and pop those in. The next level, so the idea of kind of level one, who is it for? It really is for those independent seniors who are living on their own, living at home, wanting those social connections, looking for activities, looking for ways to kind of stay connected and stay local. Families can take a look at that and talk to mom and dad and say, what do you have? What's available? And sometimes that isolation steps in. Sometimes I can't get to this program. I can't get here. I can't get there. We don't have the best public transportation system here in this metro area. So how do we find those? And they often find friends who will drive them. I speak as a caregiver. I'm living the caregiver life. I have 4 over 87 and 2 here and 2 13 hours away. And so recognizing who can drive, who cannot drive, how is it safe, where do we go, what resources do you have, who can drive who today, what appointments do you have. Anyway, that point is, right, as a family, you have to plan that out and figure those things. So proactive planning, really understanding, getting ahead on those calendars, and making sure that your checklist is kind of complete. But this is the level 1 free resource available to many, but it takes some time and energy to figure out how to plug those things in. The next level is level 2, and that notion of in-home care. We have, I think, a very rich resource in this community of a lot of different providers who are available and ready to provide that in-home service and support. Jen, you heard Jen talk about her resource in her community or her organization. There are Jens and a lot of Jens. The networking community in this this area is strong. And so finding those are good. How to find them, how to make them fit, is your next level. Is how do you figure out who's the right fit? And again, that goes back to figuring out your plan. What's your plan say? What do you need to have? Do you need 2 hours? Do you need 4 hours? Do you need 3 hours? What do you need to have? Every day, every other day, once a week, etc. But these are some of the ideas of what an in-home care person can help you with. That personal care and daily assistance, medication management. The skilled nursing and therapy goes to that next level of home health, right? So home care versus home health. two different languages, two different constructs that oftentimes we blend together, but they're really a different service level, different service type. And then companionship and transportation are those pieces that in-home care can provide. And that's, we, in the industry, and I don't know, maybe it's a common thing, but we call that aging in place. The idea of how do you age gracefully? How do you age in your home? You want to stay at home? My parents and my in-laws want to stay at home. So we are not aging gracefully, we're aging stubbornly. We have a plan, and we're working the plan, and not always do we meet the plan, and we figure out and we retool the plan, and kind of keep pushing on that process to understand how do we age gracefully, how do we age smart, are we smart about it, do we do it well, you know, let's figure this out together. And so you really have to have a partnership piece with your, if you're the caregiver, your people you're caregiving for, whether it's aunts or parents. And so, you know, there's a level of, do you bring care into the home? Not everybody's comfortable with that. Well, I only want my daughter or my son to do that. Well, I can't do that all the time if I'm working full time, right? How do we do those things? So that's just, those are the conversations that are difficult and challenging, but that's also where we're at today. That's what we're doing, is trying to figure those things out. I think some of the most challenging conversations are with your parents. What's the money look like? What kind of care can you provide? What can you accept into your house? I don't think that you should be driving. I know that this is safe, right? I mean, yeah, they clamped down on us when we were teens. Well, now I get to reverse that process, right? But they actually kick a little harder in my eyes. They're still your parents, right? And you're still a kid in their eyes. As old as I am, they're still your, I'm like, come on, I'm old. I should be able to tell you this as an adult to an adult, but no matter what, you're a kid. So it is a hard conversation, and that's a whole other conversation we can have about how do we have those conversations, and how do we talk that through. Sometimes tough love and the consequences that happen, you know, try to minimize the risk and manage the process. So anyway, home care is available in a lot of different shapes and sizes in this community, and it's something that really a lot of the families and individuals can benefit from if they want to age in place and stay at home. So we can talk about the different levels of cost that go with that. And again, I gave you ranges here, so don't hold me to them. And you, again, when you interview and talk to care providers, they will then, you know, tell you, like Jen did very openly, here's what our cost is and here's what it's going to be. So there's also other ways in which, you know, private pay is probably the most common method of that, but sometimes long-term care insurance policies pay for some of that. Some of the VA benefits may pay a little bit, and then we have that lovely waiver here, kind of, that helps kind of. For those who get in it, you win the lottery. For those who are waiting on the wait list, it's a struggle, but it is available, and it's something that's worth looking out for. And then the third level is kind of walking to that next level where families are saying, okay, let's move on beyond the house, let's move beyond the apartment, let's move beyond the condo, let's get into a senior living community. And what does that senior living community offer me? And what do I have? What's available to that? And there's a lot of levels that can go with that senior living community. From the independent living, you know, walk ahead, from the independent living all the way into, you know, the memory, assisted living, memory care, skilled nursing, and then the CCRCs, which are that comprehensive piece. So in this community, we have over 100 senior communities available. Lots of resources, lots of different types, lots of different ways in which people have packaged that care. It takes a lot of research to kind of manage that process. So understand that there's different ways to work through that, and there are different types of care. And so I think my big picture would be for you, moving from an independent living on your own without any care coverage to something under the umbrella of a senior living community, right? And you can be in an independent living in an apartment in senior living, And the benefit for that is that you get this 24-hour, 24/7-day care kind of availability, right? You have social activities, food, and that 24/7 eyeballs on you versus living in your own apartment without eyeballs, right? Other than your kids or whoever's watching and kind of checking in and calling on you. So those communities really do create a community. And I'm probably a testament to that of watching some of the people that I work with have flourished in these senior communities because suddenly they went from lonely, depressed, on walkers, unable to kind of be, they weren't living life. And they went to a community and they are excited, they're living again, off walkers, healthy, getting 3 meals a day, people checking in, they've got social, play cards, do book clubs. The standing joke I have, and many of the residents tell me, this is like a docked cruise ship. and every day is Saturday. So who doesn't like a Saturday every day? I'm like, yeah, okay. So anyway, those are some of the benefits of that process, but it takes some money. It takes some ability to do that. And so that's, again, where your plan comes into play. Got to have a good plan, understand the budget, understand what your ability to pay and work that process is. And so those are the pictures of kind of where that kind of 30,000-foot view of what the senior journey looks like, right? And what are the resources that are available? But I highly recommend you build a plan. Don't come in just going, hey, I need this resource. How does that resource fit? Why do you need that need? Why is that need being unmet? And how are you going to meet that need without a plan? So that's my pitch to you is build a plan, be proactive on it, don't be reactive. The crisis is when we don't have a plan. That's really the crisis, right? When we have a plan, we can manage anything that becomes chaotic because hey, here's the plan, here's how we're going to work it, and work the process. But if you don't have that plan, yeah, crisis happens. And then suddenly you're making decisions that you're going to pay for in the end, and it becomes even more cumbersome down the road. So I leave you with that. I hope that it gives you a picture and a purpose. So now I'm going to have some fun. We have somebody who's going to share her heart. This is the heart of the program. Sarah Bradley is going to, one of the most powerful things we can do is share stories. And we hope that we can, over the next 12 months, 24 months, however long we survive here, we hope that we can bring you stories to hear people's journey on how they've survived, how they've moved through. And everybody has a story, right? We're all either in the middle of it, headed towards it, maybe already gone through it. And so our next speaker, she knows that firsthand. Sarah is she's going to share her personal journey walking alongside her mom through a dementia diagnosis. The fear, the uncertainty, and ultimately the grace showing up when it matters most. So Sarah?
Thank you, ACAP, for inviting me to be able to be here to share my story. Canute is obviously a public speaker. I am not. I was a caregiver, and so I will be reading a lot of this from my phone. I hope you don't mind. If you are in this room today, you are likely doing something that I did not do enough of, and that is preparing before a crisis hits. My mom was diagnosed with early onset dementia at 57, and we were, to say the least, unprepared.
Sorry.
For that journey.
I want to show your picture. So we've got a picture on here. Yeah. Then I'll make it come to life.
Thank you. I was not even 30 when my mom was diagnosed, and we were all overwhelmed and honestly a little bit lost. No one hands you a roadmap in that moment when they hand you a diagnosis. There's no guidebook that says, okay, here's what you need to do next. Instead, it's a series of questions. What do we do first? Who do we call? How fast is this going to progress? How do we plan for something that we don't fully understand in that moment? A lot of times when you are facing a diagnosis, it's the first time that you have had any sort of interaction with that diagnosis. And what I remember most is how every decision that we made felt important. It felt big. And that's what I mean when I say that we were overwhelmed. It wasn't just the diagnosis, it was all of the responsibilities that came with that diagnosis. My mom, here, was the kind of person that people gravitated towards. I was gonna try not to do this.
It's okay.
She was creative and always making something out of shells or cracks because that's just who she was. She loved deeply and she was a natural caregiver. And she had this laugh, the kind of full belly laugh that made everyone else laugh just because she was laughing. She loved her animals. We always had at least a cat or a dog or both growing up. And of course, when she moved in with me, she brought a cat and a dog. But that was my mom. So when things started to feel off, mistakes at work, small changes, her employer encouraged her to see a neurologist. And after rounds of testing, we got the diagnosis, dementia. And just like that, everything changed. We tried medications, some worked, some didn't. She tried a patch that she would not leave on because it bothered her. But eventually we found something that worked and it helped stabilize her for at least a little while. My twin sister moved in with her for about 9 months, and that's when we started touring communities. They were beautiful, safe, caring environments, but I remember walking out of there thinking, it's just not time for her yet. So I went home in tears and I told my husband, I have this crazy idea.
No.
We had a 4-month-old baby and 2 other children, ages 6 and 9, and I said, what if mom moved in with us? And without any hesitation, he said, let's do it. And for a little over 2 years, we made that work. But here's what I know now that I didn't know then. Love is not a care plan. I didn't fully understand the resources that were available to us. I clearly did not know enough about in-home care, and so I didn't know how to ask for help, and so often I just didn't. And I burned out. And burnout doesn't always look the way that you would think that it would look. It's not always a breaking point. Sometimes it's very, very quiet. It's that mental load of constantly trying to navigate through all of the responsibilities that you have, managing medications, appointments, safety, behaviors, while trying to show up for your kids, your spouse, your job, and everything else. Sometimes it feels like no matter what you do, you're falling short somewhere. So that was one of the hardest parts for me. There were a few moments that I faced that forced me to face the reality that I was in. One day I had stepped outside to take out the trash, and while I was outside, she turned the burner on and caught a fabric trivet on fire. It was the second time in 2 weeks that she had messed with the stove. The first time she had, unknowing to me, turned up the burner on a simmering pot of soup and burned the entire pot of soup that I had on. That's when it hit me. This is not just hard anymore, it's now unsafe. And that led to one of the hardest decisions that I ever had to make in my caregiving journey, making the move to find a place outside of my home. I knew in my head that it was the right decision, but my heart, I felt like I was failing her. I think a lot of caregivers struggle with this part because we tell ourselves, I should be able to do this. She did this for me, now it's my turn to step up for her. And while that comes from a place of love, sometimes it comes with a lot of unrealistic expectations, ones that we set on ourselves and ones that society places on us as well. What I've learned from this is that doing everything yourself is not necessarily the same thing as doing what's best. And sometimes the most loving decision is also the hardest one. I remember the morning that we decided to move her. I got her up, I got her dressed, and I took her to Bob Evans for breakfast because it was her favorite restaurant. And I told her after we were done with breakfast that I was moving her to her new apartment. I never once called it a nursing home. It was 0.7 miles from my home, and I could drive there in less than 5 minutes, walk there in less than 15. We often rode our bikes there to visit Granny. I wanted her to feel independent there, and I wanted her to feel respected and in control for as much of the time that she could. She lived in the first community, it was an assisted living community, for about 16 months before transitioning to memory care. And while I worried about that move, I also allowed myself to feel something that I had not felt before, relief. Because she was finally going to be in a place that could fully meet all of her needs. And I'm so grateful that she had about 6 months in that community before COVID hit. So she was able to get ready with her routine there. We were able to get to know the staff a little bit, because for a full year, we couldn't see her in person. And during that time, she declined significantly. She spent her final years nonverbal, wheelchair or bedbound, often with her eyes closed. But every single time I walked into that room, I talked to her like she could talk back. Because the truth is, we don't know what they can still feel, hear, understand, so I chose connection every single time. That looked like simple things, holding her hand, listening to some of her favorite music from before, talking about my kids, talking about my day, talking about the pets. Because even if I didn't get a response, which I often did not, I showed up anyways, because connection doesn't always require words. As sisters, we each took very important roles. My older sister was her power of attorney, making her medical and financial decisions. My twin sister filled in wherever we needed her, and I became her primary caregiver and her communicator. I made the decisions about hospice, and let me tell you, hospice was one of the best decisions that we made. We had their support for over 9 months, and I truly believe that we could have had them in even longer. Because hospice is not just about the final days, it's about having support, guidance, extra care, and it's about having a team walk with you when you feel like everything else is uncertain. There are a few things that I wish that I had known earlier, and things that I believe that every family should prepare for. One of the biggest is this: knowing when it's time to take away the keys. One of her neurologists told us within 6 months of her diagnosis that it was time. He said something that I will never forget. I would much rather have a conversation with a family that their loved one is not going to survive than to have to try to tell someone that they can no longer drive. Because driving isn't just about transportation, it's about independence, identity, freedom. He also said, think about how you would feel if you received a phone call that your mother had been involved in an accident. Someone else did not make it home that night. And that really stuck with me because it's preventable. That conversation with her was not easy. At first, we told her that her car was in the shop and that it was being worked on. That worked for a little while, and then she started asking the questions. We told her that it was no longer safe for her to drive. She was angry, resentful, especially toward my sister, the one carrying so many of those decisions at the time. And it was shortly after that that my twin sister moved in with her. I wish I had understood the importance of non-medical and home care, not just for her, but for me. Having someone come in, even for just a few hours a week, would have allowed me to breathe, to really be present with my kids, to take care of myself, because I didn't really do that well. I also wish that I had understood that the sooner you plan ahead, even when things feel like they're okay, the better. So many families wait for a moment of crisis to make decisions, but the reality is the more decisions that we make now can only improve the future. The more confident and less reactive you'll feel when that time comes, that's how you start the move from overwhelmed to empowered. I also wish that I had known how to ask for help. There were lots of people who said, let me know what you need. And because I wasn't specific, I didn't ask for help. Now I know, be specific with your requests. Can you sit with her for 2 hours? Can you bring dinner? Can you take this one specific thing off of my plate? People want to help, you just kind of have to show them what exactly you need. And I'm so thankful for the things that we did do right. We hired an elder care attorney, we planned financially, we asked lots of questions, we toured communities until we found the right fit. And once she moved in, I stayed involved. I say all the time, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The more present you are, the better the care that they receive. If I can leave you with anything today, it's this. Do not wait for a crisis to happen to start navigating this maze. Learn now, ask the questions now, build your support system now. Because when that moment comes, and it will, you don't want to feel overwhelmed. You want to feel prepared, you want to feel confident, you want to feel empowered. So if you take nothing else from today, take this. Start the conversations early, talk about finances, find the legal documents, know your loved one's care preferences, ask questions, even the most uncomfortable ones, because those conversations truly will become gifts later on. Gifts of clarity, gifts of confidence, gifts of peace in moments that are otherwise really, really heavy. And while I would never wish this journey on anyone, I am incredibly grateful for what it gave me. It has shaped who I am today as a mother, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend. And it taught me something that I carry with me every day. Even in the hardest seasons, there is passion and there is purpose. Thank you.
Very good. That was awesome. Thank you. And we didn't even organize our thoughts, so how's that, right? You got some brain waves going on. Thank you, Sarah. All right, next. So I'm going to introduce SACOA, and we've got, give it up there. On the other side, we've heard the human side of caregiving. Now we're going to hear about the community resources that exist right here in central Indiana through SACOA. They are one of the region's most important resources for seniors and families, and we're going to listen to them as they walk us through what's available.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, this is a huge room, so if we want to take a stretch moment, that might be good. Like roll your neck, just take a few rolls, because we've heard a lot of information tonight. Thank you for sharing your story. I teared up. It's a hard journey. You're all walking. Whoop, it's fine. You're all walking a hard journey right now. And I've had the conversation with my mom about who's your power of attorney, and she's like, what's going on? And I'm like, it's fine, I just need to know, right? Because we do need to make a plan so that we're ready. Regardless of what happens, aging is a journey, and we want to be prepared for our loved ones. So my name is Madison. I am our community outreach specialist, and here with me tonight is Amanda Vignati. She's going to speak more to our caregiver-specific programming and our dementia programming. I'm going to give us a little bit of an overview tonight on SACOA and what it is we do and who we are. So I don't have a fancy PowerPoint, but I am going to use our brochure just to guide us. It is on the table that's out there, and you're welcome to come approach us afterwards and ask any specific questions. But we are the Area Agency on Aging for Marion County and the 7 surrounding, so we're the largest one in the state. Now, I brought up the 3 levels of care. By the way, this is a wonderfully informative meeting. You're receiving wonderful resources tonight. So on that first page, we are that under Metro Indy Resources, that second check, it says Area Agency on Aging. That's us, right? So now this says free assessments, and I'm going to talk a little bit about all the other programming that we do and how we support those who are aging, those with a disability, and their care partners.
Okay, I have a question. This is SACOA. What does that stand for again?
It used to stand for Central Indiana Council on Aging, and now we just go by SACOA. So, our website says that we don't call it an acronym anymore, but that's what it used to be called. And we've been around 50 years. We were established in the 70s, and we've just continued to grow.
Okay.
So I want to just touch on, like I said, a few things here. So we have our Aging and Disability Resource Center. That's the front door. It is free to call us. And no matter who you are, you could be an individual who is actively aging. You could also be a 30-year-old individual who needs food pantry resources. Anyone is welcome to call. That's the front door. It's free. And we will either get you connected to community resources, or we'll send a referral to an internal team based on what you communicate with us. So that's step 1, is our Aging and Disability Resource Center. Beyond that, in terms of our programming and our services, so for care coordination, case management, sort of how you can get some support when caring for your loved one, we have Flourish at Home. We also have a flyer about that on our table as well. This is a private pay option. This is where you can kind of a la carte work with the care manager who will make a person-centered support plan to support you as the caregiver as your loved one is aging and as they're experiencing changes. So this is a way to get a little support. This was touched on. Unfortunately, the Pathways waiver is on a wait list, right? But this is a great option to get some support in the meantime. This is also a great option if you're over those income and asset limits for the Pathways waiver. It's also referred to as a Medicaid waiver. In terms of transportation, this was also touched on, right? This is a major need. So for our transportation department, I kind of consider it like two silos. We have one type of transportation where it's for folks who live in Marion and travel within Marion. That's a $10 flat fee round trip cost. Now that's going to take an individual to their doctors, pharmacies, light grocery shopping. It's for folks 60 and older, but it's just a flat $10. The other option is if you live in Marion, you need to travel to a surrounding county, or if you reside in a county outside of Marion, that one is called My Freedom. My Freedom can take you across county lines. Now that cost is not a flat fee, and that's because it's just going to be calculated based on how many miles we need to go. That's open to folks of any age with a disability or those who are 60 or older. And as I go through these, any of these, the place to start is our Aging and Disability Resource Center, right? So call there and we'll get you where you need to go. In terms of caregiver support, Amanda's going to dive into that at a deep level, so I'm not going to talk about that one right now. Thanks, Cindy. Cindy also works at SACOA, so she's passing our brochure. Now I am going to next touch on our Meals and More programming. So in our Meals and More department, this is how we're trying to meet folks who are in need of some nutritional services. So we have home delivered meals. This is for folks who are 60 or older and homebound. Now, homebound to us means it's really, really difficult for your loved one to leave home. Maybe they're only getting out once a week for church. Maybe they're only getting out once a month for the doctor. So we're sort of targeting those individuals to say, hey, how can we show up for you? But there's other programs that we do as well. There's congregate meal sites, so great for socialization. It's sites that are geared towards our seniors. We also have medical nutrition therapy, so if you'd like to work with a dietitian to meet your needs based on your diagnosis as well. And we have Pet Connect, so for folks who are actively receiving home-delivered meals, they can also get free pet food and supplies as well. I know, it's a wonderful program. Well, because what happened is we noticed that folks were sharing their delivered meals with their pets. And so this was the way to fill the gap and say, you know, we know I have a dog. I'm sure a lot of us are pet parents in the room, you know. What our pet companions do for us, for our mental health, our physical health is huge. And so even more so, right, for our elderly individuals. And then the last one here on our brochure I want to touch on is our home modifications. So we are all about, we want folks to feel empowered to make, again, the best decision for them. And so we want them to feel empowered to age in place if that's what they'd like to do. And so this team, what they provide is modifications to the home for accessibility. So think walk-in showers, this could be grab bars in a bathroom, this could be a ramp build, things of that nature. So this is not maintenance to the home, but this is an accessibility modification so that your loved one has the option to age in place if they wish. There's a couple that are not here on our brochure that I just want to briefly touch on. We have a senior companion program, so if that sounds interesting at all. Again, speaking to sort of that need for our seniors to be with somebody. We can't be with our loved ones all the time, right? So we have a senior companion program, and then we also have a community health worker program. So that is a free program, free to the individual, up to 12 weeks, and think of it almost like short-term case management, right? So this is somebody who could meet with your loved one once a week for 12 weeks and build the roadmap, as was touched on. So to say, how do we get some things in place so that at the end of the 12 weeks, when you graduate, we're feeling comfortable and confident to take whatever those next steps might be. Who are your supports, and how do we kind of build that out now that we're at the end of those 3 months? So that's free to the individual. But you know, ultimately what I'd say is as the Area Agency on Aging, our goal is just to serve folks. I think of us like a resource hub. And so if you're not sure if we do it in-house, please just call anyway. Because when we direct folks to community resources, we are pulling from Indiana 211's database. So we are providing vetted, unbiased information, right? So for that individual who calls in and says, I just need some food pantry resources, great. We're gonna pull from that database and send you on your way with some phone numbers to call, a few that are local to your zip code, right? But if what you're needing is that Marion County transportation, for example, great, I'm gonna submit that internal referral for you right now, and that's gonna go to that team right now. So the biggest thing is we're a hub. So give us a call if you're not sure if we do it, give us a call if anything that we've discussed tonight sounds interesting or helpful, but we're a free resource to the community. And so if you have questions, we will be around, but I'm gonna pass it off to Amanda, and she's gonna dive into our caregiving programs. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Hi. Hello, everybody. Let me know if I'm screaming into the mic or if I'm too soft, because I do not have a good handle on that at all. As Madison said, I am going to talk with you about our caregiver support program. It is called CareAware. While most of the services that Madison talked about focus more on the care recipient, CareAware focuses on the caregiver. It is funded through some federal dollars, so it is in essence free to the caregiver. Eligibility can be found on our SACOA website, but if you are a caregiver younger than 60 years old but caring for someone who is 60 years of age or older, if you are a caregiver who is 60 years of age caring for someone, grandparents or step-grandparents who are 55 years or older and taking care of minor children. If you are responsible for the care of an individual of any age who is diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease or related dementia, you may qualify for our CareAware program. The caregiver must reside in Marion County or in one of our 7 surrounding counties. The care recipient does not have to live within our service area. I believe Newt said he's got some local and some long distance, so we can support that either way. The caregiver does not have to be providing hands-on care to the care recipient. If you are the power of attorney doing the budgeting, that can be a strain. Those decisions are hard. If you are the one doing the hands-on care, that's also difficult. So just keeping that in mind, caregiving looks a lot different across the board and can change over time. That's not going to really matter here. If you're not sure that you want to enroll in the CareAware services, our ongoing case management, we do offer information assistance. And so if you just want to call and see what the program is about, or to see, what are just some support groups that are out there? Can you get me those resources? I don't really want to engage otherwise. You're welcome to call us about that as well. I say call, we actually have an online referral form. If you call, you're probably going to go to our Aging and Disability Resource Center, and they will make that referral to CareAware if they do not have that information there. Some of the services, some additional services that we offer beyond the case management piece. Actually, let me talk a little bit about the case management for CareAware. That's going to offer some supportive listening. They're going to kind of help you with your plan. They're also going to try to help you identify what you need to do to take care of yourself so that you can keep taking care of your loved one. Trying to identify, I think Sarah shared that was hard for her to, she wasn't taking that time for herself. One of the things that our caregiver case managers try to do is help you identify what's the thing that's going to bring you some joy. What will allow you to take a little bit of time, explore those informal supports, explore any formal supports, see what might work to give you that break that you need. Because the longer that you take care of yourself, the longer you're going to be able to take care of your loved one in most circumstances. Additional services beyond the case management, We offer the Aging Brain Care Program, also known as the Dementia Care Coach, and that is specific to individuals with caring for loved ones with Alzheimer's or related dementia diagnosis. There's different protocols and strategies that they can go over depending on where the caregiver stress level is. In some areas, we are able to do some in-home respite, some out-of-home respite, so through adult day centers. And then there are some areas that have emergency response buttons available. It really depends on where the care recipient lives, if there's staffing or space available for the particular service, and if there is funding currently available. Because while I'd love to say there is an endless pot of money, there is not. And so we do what we can. Our goal is to serve as many caregivers as we can to provide at least some respite, as opposed to a few caregivers with a lot of respite. It just allows us, our program isn't set up to do what waiver or choice dollars, VA dollars are to do. It's really to focus on that caregiver and to give that break. I'm just going to touch briefly on our dementia programs. Maybe if I can find it, there we go. We have information on Dementia Friends Indiana. Part of our dementia programs is really focused on reducing the stigma and creating welcoming environments for individuals with Alzheimer's and dementia diagnosis. So Dementia Friends Indiana, Dementia Friendly Indianapolis, and we have an action team. There are different memory cafes. One of the flyers that I have has some upcoming memory cafes that are social gatherings for people living with dementia and their care partners to enjoy just a fun activity together to take hopefully some of that caregiving piece away for just a short period of time in a safe environment. And then we also have Living Well with Dementia events. It's a community event in which a person living well with dementia and their care partner speaks about their experience. The Alzheimer's Association as well as SACOA also present on the resources that are available there. I will be at the table with Madison. If you guys have questions, we have the CareAware flyer. It has the information on how to make a referral to us. We typically try to respond within 2 business days. I mentioned staffing availability. We are currently at half staff. So it may take a little bit longer for us to respond, but just know that we will get in touch with you as we can. Thank you all.
So, here we are. You survived an hour. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Again, I'm a little bit flabbergasted that we have such a big room here full of people. And so, as my adult kids would tell me, you are close to going viral, Dad. Viral in the big sense is, thousands. But hey, you participated tonight, so we thank you so much. We heard some great voices. Sarah, your deeply personal story. Amanda. Madison. I was going to say Emily. I don't know why that. So Madison and Amanda, the roadmap for what we have. We have a lot of resources in this community. It's do you know where they are and how do we find them, right? And so we thank you both for showing up. We thank you for the first time. This is the first time we've done this to more than 20 people. So that's incredibly exciting. I want to remind you that we're not a one-time event. We're going to be here second Tuesday of every month. We appreciate you slogging out here on a Tuesday night. Crazy traffic, rain. Lord knows we haven't had rain for a long time, so suddenly we get that. Now we get sunshine. We thank you so much for that opportunity to come out and spend your time with us. Our May program is coming up. Registration's open. The website's there. Feel free. As you can see, and I hope you can see, that we are a resource. We're available, we're open. It's an opportunity for an educational platform to kind of be used as this community. And so we love your feedback. Let us know how we did, how we didn't do, what are we missing. Just a little bit of insight into how do we build this curriculum. So we're blessed that we're a chapter of a larger company called ACAP Community out of North Carolina. And it was started by a caregiver 13 years ago, Francis Hall, who said, I'm suddenly stuck caring for my mom, and I don't know what resources are around, and I don't know how to do this. And so from that vision, she has said, I'm going to build a platform that allows communities to create a chapter and then build an educational opportunity for communities. And so we were blessed to kind of understand that and see that back in December, and that's why we're here. We feel like it's a nice opportunity. And so what Frances has done, she's kind of an academic in the sense that she uses AARP's annual 2025 annual report that talks about the biggest themes that everybody is interested in wanting to know, and also NAC, National Association for Caregivers, National Association of Caregivers Alliance. So those two platforms are where the curriculum has been built. And so we use a curriculum that they have done that, but there's 52 topics that we can get to choose from, and we meet 12 times. So we have a lot of topics, a lot of opportunity to share information, and we hope that we're hitting the highlights for what you're looking for. So bear with us, we'll keep working this process out, and we thank you for your flexibility tonight in the sense that, honestly, we were in a whole other side of this building in 2 classrooms with 5 tables for planning for 30. So you have created quite a blessing for us. We wouldn't be here without you all, and we wouldn't be here also without the leadership team, the sponsors who are here, and we thank you so much for that. So we hope to see you next month. What's unique tonight is that we actually have a resource fair. This is not going to happen every time. We thought we would just blow it out and have a big old event. So, our leadership team plus our sponsors all have tables available. You saw them as you came in, because we clearly have no more space. And so there's no way to get out of here other than go by them, say hi, pick up all the tchotchkes, and have a good night. Be safe. Come back next month. Take care.